Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is the video version of my Tech Guy podcast. These are the best parts of two shows. Episodes 725 and 726 originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday and Sunday, December 11th and 12th, 2010. Enjoy. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo, just back from France.
Well,
to thank my friends at Seismic, Loïc Lemur and his wife Geraldine, who put on an amazing conference in France called Le Web 2010. And, oh man, did we have a good time. It's an interesting idea, this conference, Le Web. The idea is Loïc, who is a Frenchman, but moved his company to San Francisco about 4 or 5 years ago. His company, Seismic. They do a Twitter client. He noticed there was a significant difference. In fact, the reason he moved to San Francisco, a significant difference in the way startups work in the U.S. and in Europe. And he, I think, genuinely feels that the American model works better. I mean, look at all the amazing fertility and creativity coming out of the U.S., particularly out of Northern California, Silicon Valley, and San Francisco. And there's a couple of points that I took from it, meeting European entrepreneurs, speaking to European entrepreneurs. One is that in America, we're allowed to fail. In fact, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a resume, 2 or 3 failed startups, it doesn't count against you, especially if they were good tries or good ideas. Maybe the timing was wrong, you couldn't raise enough money. It doesn't count against you. And every entrepreneur I speak to in the States says, it's okay to fail. It means you took a chance. You took a risk. You reached. You tried, and it's honored here. Whereas in Europe, very difficult to get money if you have a failed startup. Just not the same culture of. Isn't that funny that the thing that makes America successful is our culture of failure? That's not quite the right way to say it. Our willingness to take a chance and fail. I thought that was quite interesting. The money tree is a little different in Europe too. It's a little more conservative, a little less. Easy to raise money, and of course that's what lubricates a lot of this. You can very easily get a start. I was talking to Dennis Crowley, who started Foursquare, which is 5 million users now, very successful. One of those location check-in things that people like my wife say, "Why would you ever want to use that?" But for some reason, us geeks like it. Dennis, I asked Dennis, well, isn't it fairly easy just to get started? It's cheap, and he said, with the tools today, things like Amazon has a cloud computing system called EC2, and the programming languages like Ruby on Rails that make it very simple and easy for somebody to say, I've got an idea, let me try it out, let me put it out in public and see what happens. That makes it very easy for us to create a lot of ideas, but as soon as people start using it, as soon as you start getting 100,000, 200,000, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million users, well, it starts to cost money. And at that point, you've got a successful idea, you've been able to execute, you've been able to show that it works and people like it, and then you go shake the money tree. You go down, there's a road in Palo Alto called Sand Hill Road where all the venture capitalists go, and you go down that road one by one and you raise money, and that's how pretty much every successful startup from Twitter to Facebook has started. And it's that system that's working so well for us and creating so much value in the U.S. They're very interested. The European entrepreneurs are very interested. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number, 888-827-5536. We are live today. Our show notes at techguylabs.com. James DeRuvo is writing as I speak. Techguylabs.com will also take you to our chat room and to the video of this show, should you want to watch. Let's get to our first call of the day. He's Mike in Los Angeles. Mike, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello, Leo Laporte.
Hey, Mike.
Okay, I just got my first smartphone, a Samsung Intercept Droid phone from Virgin Mobile. And now I have 3 questions for you. You want them all at once?
We'll start. Now let's go one by one.
Okay, the first one has to...
I'm easily confused. Go ahead.
Okay, so some websites are saying, drain it all the way down, charge it up 12, 14 hours, do that 3 times.
No.
Other people say, no,
BS.
you'll ruin the battery. Other people
Doesn't
say
matter one way or the other. Lithium-ion batteries. There's a lot of misinformation about batteries, partly because of the nickel-cadmium batteries and the nickel-metal hydride batteries, and frankly, to a very misleading report from the U.S. Air Force, which everybody's been going on ever since, that were really about a form of NiCads that never were used in consumer electronics. But that's all point aside. Lithium-ion, it's very straightforward. You don't have to charge it up, charge it down, discharge it. Just, you know, all the phones will say charge it fully before you use it. I don't even bother doing that. It doesn't impact the life. You have a certain number of charge cycles, period. After that, the battery's no good.
So whether it's a cell phone or a laptop, it's the same thing.
They're all lithium-ion nowadays. So there's no memory effect. That's one of the things that happened with NiCads, where they would kind of remember how much you used and not charge past that point. That doesn't exist anymore. There's some people say, and you know, if you discharge fully, you'll get better battery life once in a while. I don't believe it. I don't do it.
Can you ruin it if you overcharge it? If you leave it? You
cannot. They all, unless you're using a cheap knockoff battery, they all have circuitry. Because one of the problems with lithium-ion, if you overcharge them, they explode.
Okay.
So none of them. You trust me, you can't overcharge it. It would blow up. So you can't. They have circuitry that says, okay, I'm at max and I'm done.
Okay, they're smart enough to know they're full. So I can plug it in and not worry in the morning.
Yeah. Don't think about your battery. All that battery management's voodoo.
All right, so I don't have to worry about that. Here's the next question. Screen protectors, they're on Amazon, they're there from a penny to $20. Is there any big difference between one and another, or do you need it?
I don't use a screen protector, but of course, remember, I go through phones like candy.
Yeah,
so I don't give them... how many years do you want to keep this Samsung?
A couple of years would be nice.
Yeah. I think screen protectors do 2 things. They dull the screen to make it less attractive. And they make it a little more difficult to use. The modern screens are glass. They don't scratch very easily. They're fairly scratch resistant. They're like your watch, your wristwatch. I don't put a protector on. If you want to use a protector, I don't think there's much difference. I wouldn't get a 1 penny protector. I don't know who's charging a penny, but it doesn't sound.
But they charge you a few dollars for shipping. But.
Yeah, they get you in one way or the other. You know, I would get a case. I think a case is probably a good idea, but none of the cases protect the front face because that's what you're using.
Right.
Just be careful. Keep it in a pocket. Don't put it face down on the desk, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I commute by bicycle, and I have all this stuff on my fanny pack, so I've got all sorts of cases. I look like I'm in the Army, kind of, and people make fun of it, but I have stuff hooked on because I don't want to lose things. So,
I'm told, I didn't know this, but Monoprice, which I recommend for cables, my Monoprice, the chat room, thank you, chat room, says Monoprice, MONOPRICE.com, also sells screen protectors. What I love about Monoprice is they don't fall for the hype. You know, they sell the cables at the right price, like $1.50, and they sell the screen protectors affordably. And I think
I'll look at that. Here's my last question.
Yes.
Okay. There's only so much RAM on there. There's certain programs that start up whether I wanted to or not. There's a what do you call it? A downloadable app called Advanced Task Killer. And I look at that, and Maps has started up, and Huffington Post has started up, but I can't figure out how to stop them from starting up.
Yeah. The way Android works, there's no quit on most apps. Don't worry about it. The idea is that the operating system takes care of all that for you. And you're 2.2 right now of Android? Do you know?
2.1, unfortunately.
Ah, okay. Task killers only work pre 2.2. So you could the one I recommend is called Watchdog. It's free. Watchdog looks for runaway tasks, programs that don't quit, and then lets you quit them. Once you go to 2.2, their task killers stop working. And here's an interesting thing. Google released 2.3, and many phones are getting upgraded right now. Google put a task killer in it after saying for years you don't need one. I don't think you particularly need one, but get Watchdog, Mike. It'll at least keep an eye on runaway apps. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Julie, Pasadena, California. You're next. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Leo. I am helping my mother shop for an electronic reader. And I know you're a fan of the Kindle.
Yeah.
She would like one that is illuminated or backlit somehow so that she can read at night in bed without having a lamp on.
Yeah, I do too. I use the iPad for that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Now here's the difference. Almost all the e-readers, including Barnes & Noble's, Amazon's. I'm not sure about the new color from Barnes & Noble. I don't think... Is that backlit, chat room? Have you played with that one? They have a new color one. But all the black and white ones are using the same screen, which is from a company called E-Ink.
Okay.
And it has some real advantages. The E-Ink uses no electricity once the page is drawn. So it's like an Etch-a-Sketch. The screen is charged, the little black dots draw the page, and then it sits there and doesn't use any power. So these get 2 or 3 weeks of battery life as a result, because they only use power when you turn the pages. The other advantage is they're very crisp. So when you shine light on them, there's no flicker. They're just sitting there. The disadvantage is it's not exactly black on white. It's kind of black on a green. It looks like an LCD screen. It's not great. It's got a little flicker. They've gotten better, but still a perceptible flicker when it redraws a screen, because really what it's doing, almost like an Etch-a-Sketch, it's erasing the screen, then redrawing it, and you can see that. So there's this flicker, and it's not a fast screen. So if you want to do anything else, some of these have, like the Amazon Kindle has a browser in it, but it's kind of a weird feeling because it's so slow, and it's not touch. So but people look at it and go, oh, I could touch it. No, you can't touch it. You use the buttons.
Right.
So that's E-Ink. Then you have more traditional LCD screens as you would have on a laptop. That's what the iPad uses. It's backlit, so you don't need a light on it. But as a result, it's not quite as readable. Certainly not readable in sunlight. She's mostly reading in bed?
Yeah. Yeah, at night. And she wants to be able to not have a lamp on, so...
Yeah, I understand that. Now, the other advantage of the iPad, and I really would kind of underscore this, is does more than just reading. And she may find that she really likes it, that she can get her email on there or visit a website or two. Does she do any computing at all?
Yes, she does.
I think people get an iPad and they go, oh, this is better than I thought. Now, the Nook, I am looking, the Nook Color, which is the new Barnes & Noble, is backlit.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So it's color, but which means it's not going to get as good a battery life. It's not going to be it's going to have all the disadvantages that any laptop has. Not as good in bright light, that kind of thing. But it is backlit, so she could read it in bed, and it's smaller than an iPad. Which the reason people like the other reason people like the Amazon is it's so tiny.
Well, what about being able to download books from a library website?
Well, you'd have to check with the library. Unfortunately, libraries are not too good at entering the digital age. They put copy protection on these books so that you can use them only for 2 weeks. It's kind of a strange experience. And I would guess, but you'd have to check with the library. In most cases, the library copy protection system is required to do it on a computer, not on the e-reader. Right. So my recommendation, you're going to be buying books. You're not, or getting. There are a lot of free books that you can read on any of these readers. All the public domain books, all the classics. But my recommendation is she buy books.
Right.
Let's check with the library and see. But I don't know of any library that allows you to use copy protected books on them.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that helped. At least you understand the parameters now.
Yeah, well, we were talking about an iPad, and then I think she thought that maybe that was too much for... She just wanted to keep it simple.
It's bigger. Know? It's really bigger, and I find when I'm lying in bed, and the size of the Nook or the Kindle is great. You can hold it. So I would say, given that she's got, I want backlight, the Nook is probably her choice, and it's got, it's Barnes & Noble. It's got 2 million books. It's got the same kind of roughly the same kind of selection as the Amazon.
Okay.
If I were you, now, if you can take her to look at these, it would be good.
Yeah, that's what I recommended to her.
She needs to, because she's going to be reading. I gave my mom, who's 77, she has an iPad, and she has a Kindle, and she loves the Kindle. She reads, again, because she can make the text bigger, easy to read. You can put a bright light on that, and it really is legible. It's really crisp and legible. And no LCD screen, including the Nook, is going to be like that.
And the Kindle, you're restricted to buying books off of Amazon. Is that correct?
Not exactly. There are it supports a format that our other companies put content into, and you can email yourself PDFs and things too. So no, you're not limited to just what's on Amazon, but mostly you are. And for her, probably the easiest will be that. But no, there are programs that will let you put books onto the Kindle.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Julie. Yeah, this is a tough one for shopping. And especially if you're buying it for somebody else, it's hard to say, oh, well, you really ought to. I'll be honest, at $130, the Wi-Fi Kindle is a very attractive device. The price is right. The Kindle is light. It's really the newest Kindle. The third generation Kindle is, I think, a gorgeous. The first Kindle was really horrible. Like, where did this come from? But the new Kindle is just gorgeous, light, nothing like it, and very, very usable for reading. The other advantage of buying books, Kindle books, is that you can still read them, and I do this on the iPad or your computer or your phone. Amazon makes Kindle applications for all these, and once you buy a book on one platform, you can read it on any of them. You can download it from any of them, and it keeps track of where you are on any of them and catches you up on all the devices. So if you're in the middle of a book and you just launch it on your Android device or your iPhone, it jumps right to the page you left off. I like that feature. I think Amazon's really got it kind of down. They've been doing it for a while. But having said that, I think the Nook is quite good. It's just I don't know why you'd buy the black and white Nook because it's just pretty much the same as the Amazon. But if you're willing to spend $250, the new color Nook. It's a gorgeous screen. I have not played with it. I do see it's backlit. It has built-in Wi-Fi, so you can download your books without connecting it to a computer. I like that. But I have to think that the battery life is much worse. Don't know if that's an issue. I mean, I charge everything up at night anyway, and that because it's color and backlit, it's just not going to be quite as legible. It's going to be more like an iPad, a small iPad. Justin, Windsor, Nova Scotia. Hey, Justin, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello there, Leo. How's it going?
It's great. How are you, Justin?
Oh, not too bad. Do I sound okay?
Are you on Skype? You sound fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
Are you on I presume you're on Skype.
Yeah, I am. The calling rates up here are insane.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to find upstream bandwidth, so,
No, it sounds very good. Of course, that's for now. The problem with Skype is it can be good 1 minute and terrible the next.
Yeah, well, we do have reliable internet, but it's just slow.
Who's your internet service provider?
Eastlink.
Okay. Are they a phone company? Is it DSL?
Eastlink, they do all three. They do DSL, cable, and phone. They're the most expensive, but they are actually a good provider.
I have to say, it sounds extremely clear. Sounds really good.
Oh, it didn't when I was going through the call screener. But anyway.
Well, that's what I mean. It could be great 1 minute and terrible the next.
Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about a bit is net neutrality. And what brought it up for me is one of the news sites that I read. It's Infowars.com. Basically, the news site got partially blocked from Google.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that. That is a very hot topic thanks to WikiLeaks. The Department of Homeland Security is now blocking BitTorrent sites. We'll talk about that when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Karen in San Clemente, California. Hi, Karen. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, hi, Leo.
Hey.
So good to talk to you. I never thought I'd talk to a tech guy.
Oh, I'm talking to a geek. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I'm due to get a new phone the 20th of this month.
Woohoo!
I'm excited. I thought, I'm in my 70s, but I thought, well, it's time to try a smartphone while I can still learn.
So the question is, this has changed. When the iPhone first came out, that was it. There was no other choice for 3 years. Now there's some choices. In fact, now every single wireless carrier in the country has a good choice. So the question is, as it used to be before the iPhone, who's your best carrier first? Not which phone, but which carrier do you want to use?
I have Verizon, and I've been happy with them.
As you should be. I think they're very good.
I hear Bill Handel saying he got the Droid and he can't even turn the darn thing on.
And Bill's a smart guy, so I have to say, now some of that is Bill being Bill. But I think he is right that for a lot of people, the Droid X is a little more phone than they want, especially for your first smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
I wish the Windows Phone were available on the Verizon because, frankly, that's, to me, the best phone for your first smartphone. It's very easy to use. Right now, it's only AT&T and T-Mobile. I think, though, I know you'd like to get this before Christmas. But can you
Yes.
wait till January?
Yes.
Because they haven't announced a date, but I'm pretty sure that the Windows Phone 7, the new Windows Phone, will be available on all the carriers early next year.
Windows 07?
It's called Windows Phone 7.
Phone 7. Mm-hmm.
And it is every bit as capable as a smartphone, as any other smartphone. Really, there aren't the differences between an iPhone, an Android phone, and a Windows phone are kind of like the differences between Mac and Windows. They really, all three do roughly the same thing. But they're not compatible, so you buy apps for just one or the other. And the apps that are available aren't the same, so there's far more on the iPhone, and the Android's now got a lot too, and far fewer on Windows Phone 7. But this is your first smartphone. You don't need every darn application in the world. In fact, that's one of the things that makes it complicated.
Oh.
I think that the apps that are available on Windows Phone 7 are very good. I think Windows Phone 7's user interface is the easiest of the three to understand and to use.
My grandson got a Droid phone. He isn't with Verizon. He's with somebody else. I forget who. A Sprint. He's with Sprint, but he said he got a Droid.
Yeah, they have. It's not a Droid; it's an Android, but it's the operating system's the same. Now, it's nice. Are you in touch with him frequently?
Yeah, I thought he could teach.
Okay, if you've got now, see, that's different. See, if Bill Handel had me hanging around with him, he'd have figured this thing out by now. Mm-hmm. So that actually does change things. If your grandson's willing to help you with it, then I would say go ahead, because I think you will love it. But it's going to need somebody to spend some time with you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Christmas came early at the Tech Guy Labs. Google sent me, I was in Paris, and I got an email from Google, and they said, I guess was it Tuesday or Wednesday, they had an announcement. I was out of town for this, but I think we covered it on my Netcast network on TWiT. I think Tom Merritt came in and covered it. They announced the availability of I guess it's a test program. You can't buy this in stores, of a laptop running Google's Chrome-based operating system called Chrome OS. And they sent me an email saying, you want to try it? And I said, okay. So it's funny. Talk about black helicopters. It is a matte black finish with absolutely no insignia. It doesn't even say Google on it anywhere. It's just a laptop. It's a fairly big laptop. It's not a netbook. It kind of reminds me of the 13-inch Macintosh. It has the same kind of touch pad on it. No CD or DVD, and that makes sense because the whole point of this device is it's running a new operating system from Google that is essentially just the browser. It's Chrome. I happen to like Chrome, but I also happen to like my desktop apps, so I'm wondering, how is this going to work? I guess for a word processor, you use Google Docs, right, or a spreadsheet or a presentation. I guess if you want apps, you go to the new Chrome App Store and you buy apps there. Nowhere does it say what the processor is, what the RAM is, but you know what? People don't. I think that this in some ways reflects the future of computing. At least that's what Google is expecting, or thinking, or trying. They were very clear. They said, this is not a review unit. Do not review this. Do not review this. This is not to review, because it's almost a test program to see how people use it, how they like it, and to get feedback. But they did seed. I think they seeded a lot of the press with this. Comes with Wi-Fi. It comes with 3G access via Verizon. That's kind of interesting. And it's not surprising that they launched the App Store, so that there are apps you can buy on it. I mean, I could play games on it, but I have to play them as HTML5 games. And that's what's interesting about this. Now, have you heard about HTML5? The idea is that the Internet standard, which is, the Internet's based on something called hypertext markup language. The next generation of that standard, HTML5, will include the kinds of capabilities software developers expect. The ability to do animations and graphics, playback video. Everything that you would need to make a standalone program run, you can do through the web in HTML5. Now, it's an early specification. It's not final. A lot of the capabilities aren't there yet, but I think Google and Apple, too, and a number of other companies who really are interested in this idea of web apps have thrown their weight behind it, and this is kind of their response is, well, let's see if this is good enough that you could actually make an operating system that doesn't store applications on the hard drive. They don't say how much RAM's in this or how big the hard drive. They don't say what the processor is. There's a little card in here that they probably had to do in response to interest from Intel. It says if you cracked this open, you'd find Intel. They want to let you know it is running an Intel chip. But the point really is that users no longer care, do they? Users don't. They don't really. Do they even care what the OS is anymore? I don't think so. I think that we have a standard set of expectations of what a technology can do for us, whether it's a mobile technology like a phone or a desktop technology like a computer, and that's as long as it does that, we don't really care what the bits inside are. I've known this day would come. In fact, I've talked about this before. It happens all the time with technology. At first, technology is taken up by the enthusiasts who care about what we call speeds and feeds. What's the processor? How much RAM? We care about that stuff. In the days of early days of hi-fi stereo, when stereo aficionados talked, how many watts per channel RMS are you getting? What's your total harmonic distortion? When's the last time you thought about or asked or even knew what RMS and THD were? Enthusiasts cared. They cared a lot. In the early days of stereo, that's all they talked about. And the music was really just an excuse to test out, how well your bass responded, how loud you could play it. They liked the 1812 Overture because there were cannons. That's changed, though, didn't it? In fact, it kind of changed with the rock and roll era. Rolling Stone, instead of stereo, people, hi-fi review, people started reading the Rolling Stone and talking more about the records than about the stuff that you use to play the records back. And that's what the computer industry, we're in that transition now. We've been in it for about 10 years, where we care less and less about the hardware. We know less and less about the hardware. We care more and more about the content, about what it can do. And this is kind of this Google laptop is kind of the nth degree of that. It's got it's got no drive. I don't know how much hard drive there is in here, how much RAM. There's no CD drive. There's no. It's essentially a thing that connects to the internet. It's very, and of course, so is the iPad. Really, Apple didn't sell. They did mention that it had the A4 processor in it. I think that was kind of perhaps they don't put it in the ads anymore. I think that was perhaps a tip of the hat to people like me who come from those older times when people cared about speeds and feeds. Nobody cares about how much. Do you know how much RAM is in a iPad? Have you ever had a hankering to expand the RAM in your iPad? No. Could you if you wanted to? No. You can't even change the battery. Apple's known this for a while, that people, real people, not geeks like me, real people, just want it to do what it does and get out of the way. Technology should ultimately, right, if it works well, get out of the way. Somebody at the web, the conference I was at this week, said, it took 10 years for the automobile industry to settle on the idea of a steering wheel. There was a debate. Some of them had joysticks, little knobs, little weird lever thingies to steer. Some of them had two things to steer, two levers. But eventually, we all agreed on the steering wheel, and now there's no question. You don't say, hey, I'd like a car with levers, please. What, huh? Can you put the accelerator on the left? What? No, the accelerator is on the right. The brake is in the middle. If you have a clutch, the clutch is on the left. That's the way it is. All cars, all the time. And computing is starting to be like that, I think. We finally settled on a steering wheel. We're still fighting, though, isn't it? Odd how we fight over, the Mac or the Droid. Android is the best, or iPhone is the best, or the PC, Windows is the best. In a decade, people will say, why did you even, what do you care? Why did that matter to you? And really, in a way, it's just like saying, I am a fan of the Oakland Raiders. No, the Tennessee Titans, that's the team for me. It's that. It's rooting. That's all it is. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We were, what were we talking about? I don't know. Let's talk to Karen in San Clemente. I think we were talking to Karen about a good phone. And I just wanted to follow up on that, Karen. I'm sorry to get distracted a little bit. Since you have a grandson who's willing to help you, I think that's very good. And I'm looking at the phones that Verizon offers. Mm-hmm. And I think of the phones that Verizon offers right now, you really have two choices. I wouldn't waste your time on the keyboard phones, which are the Droid Pro and the Droid 2. I don't think they're gonna get in your way.
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either the Droid X, which is what Bill Handel, the morning man on KFI has, or the Droid Incredible. Now, I think the Droid Incredible is a incredible phone, if you'll pardon the expression. But the Droid X has a bigger screen. I don't know how your eyesight is, but as I've gotten older, I find I like the bigger screen. So what I would do is go with your grandson to the Verizon store and play with those two.
Okay.
And if he's willing to help you, I would say don't go with the Windows Phone. You don't have to wait. And really the only choice is the Droid X or the Incredible. And then let him help you, and I think you'll find you love it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Kathy, Pasadena, California, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Hey. Welcome to the show.
My question concerns what I'm told is perhaps a loose GPU, but I'm not convinced, and I'll tell you why. My computer screen is blurry after about 4 minutes after I load Windows, and it stays that way unless I enable computer sharing monitor sharing via S-Video with the TV, and then the problem goes away right away.
Ah. So it looks fine on the TV. It only looks bad. Is it a laptop?
No. It looks. I don't actually need to turn on the TV. It just fixes the laptop screen right away. The blurriness stops immediately.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's blurry until you tell it, I want output through S-Video.
Right. Even though I don't actually output through S-Video, I just say share this monitor. The TV I never even turn on. It just fixes my laptop screen right away.
I'm wondering what's going on with the display settings. If you look, you're a Windows machine, I assume.
Correct.
Of course you are, because there's no S-Video on a Mac.
Configuring the size of the screen.
Yeah, I would look in the display control panel. First step is to make sure that the screen it has chosen is the screen you're actually using.
It is.
It is. So it's who makes the laptop?
It's ThinkPad.
So it says IBM ThinkPad screen.
Correct.
Or I'm sorry, Lenovo. Shows mine.
It says IBM because I bought it.
It was IBM. Okay, good. IBM ThinkPad screen. So it knows the right. The reason I ask is because the driver for the screen describes to the computer, to the operating system, what the screen's capable of, the normal resolution and all of that. And I'm just wondering if it's at a normal resolution. Have you tried other resolutions?
I have tried several different resolutions for both monitors. Only one shows up actually is enabled, obviously, when I don't have it sharing.
Good, because that's the correct. Normally, if you have the right driver for the monitor, it will just show one. That's what's called the native resolution for the screen. And what is that resolution? Do you remember?
Well, I have it on sharing right now, so I could talk to you and actually be able to look at the screen.
How blurry? So it's so blurry that you can't see the screen, that you can't read it.
I can't read letters or anything. Everything, it looks like it's static almost.
Oh.
And so I've tried updating the video card drivers. I've tried everything in display properties that I could possibly think of.
I presume that you have the refresh rate at 60 hertz.
I do.
Because that's the only thing really that a laptop, that an LCD will do.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
And it's
and check to see if when you go off of S-Video, if it changes it to something. Well, you can't, can you? Because you can't see it.
It does not. See, when somebody said to me that it was perhaps a loose GPU and a wedge.
No, it's not a loose. It's not a loose GPU. I can tell you that right now.
I didn't think so either. I think it has something to do with frequency or something.
Yeah, it sounds like what happens. See, what happens when you plug in or you tell it to use an external monitor is it just does change those settings. You're mirroring, and it's changing the settings to reflect what the external monitor is capable of.
Exactly.
And those settings work.
And it works, but mind you, even though the S-Video cable is plugged in, it doesn't. That doesn't do it itself. And nor does turning the actual TV that is connected. That doesn't actually need to even be turned on.
Yeah. Do you have I'm pretty sure you have a VGA connector on that ThinkPad.
Do I have a VGA connector?
If you could connect it to an external monitor.
Yeah.
Connect it to an external monitor. See how that looks.
Okay.
Or maybe better yet, restart it in safe mode. Do you know how to do that? When you restart it in safe mode, it defaults to a generic VGA driver, not the fancy Dan driver that you want to use. It's a low-quality driver. But I'm thinking that when it does that, you will be able to see the screen normally, and you'll be able to go to those settings and make sure they're set correctly.
Okay. Just make sure that they're set at whatever they were
60
originally.
hertz refresh rate, and then what you'd like to find out is what's the native resolution. How big a screen is it?
It's a 14.1.
14-inch screen. In that day and age, I mean, it's a fairly old laptop. It probably wasn't super high resolution.
Well, I have the original description is, I assume is what you're referring to, is 1400 times 1050.
That's exactly right. 14 by 1050, yeah. So make sure it's set at that. If the screen is set at 14 by 1050 and 60 hertz, then it's set properly. And if you see it, if you go into now in safe mode, you probably won't be able to set it to that because it's running the VGA driver. So what you want to do is go to the safe mode, reinstall the video driver. If you can't get it from the IBM site, you may not. It may be too late for that. But if you have a disk, reinstall the driver for the display. Make sure you got the driver, is fixed. And then, I'm trying to think.
What would you think that would be?
Well, it really sounds like it's got a bad refresh rate. It sounds like the refresh rate is not 60 hertz. The problem is you can't check it. What happens is as soon as you turn on S-Video, it goes, oh, I got to be 60 hertz for the TV.
Yeah.
And so it works. Now, is there any reason you don't want to leave it that way?
At
whatever it is with the screen on?
Well, yeah, I'm tethered to a TV. It's a laptop.
Oh, you have to be connected. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a drag. Yeah. It does not sound like a hardware malfunction because you can see the screen fine.
I can see the screen fine when it's connected to the TV. I can see my laptop screen just fine. Everything stops moving.
Yeah.
It freezes it.
Now, people are telling me that the real issue is that the screen resolution of that screen, that old IBM ThinkPad, isn't it's not capable of that 1440 by 1050 that you've got. It is 1024 by 768. It's VGA. That does sound right.
Well, right now, I'm looking at screen resolution in display properties, and I'm looking at primary monitor, which is the laptop, and it is set to be 14.
Yeah, that's the TV out. It's set for your TV, and it's working on your TV. But it's and then whatever it's going, by the way, to a different resolution. You're not in mirroring probably. You're probably in extended desktop.
Yes, I am. That's
so
correct.
It's setting itself properly, and the TV is the larger size. But you're telling me though that the laptop screen is clear now, right?
I'm telling you the laptop screen is clear.
So what's happening is when you disconnect the S-Video, it's reverting to the wrong settings. Now I've got Matt in here. He's a software engineer. And he says you could also VNC you could do remote desktop into the computer from another computer and fix those settings. Now that's a little tricky, but it sounds like you've got somebody there helping you.
It's actually me.
The issue, Kathy, is that the settings, when you take off the monitor, revert to settings that the display can't handle. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, and guess who's here? He's the Daily Gizwiz, Dick D. Bartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer, host of a daily podcast that we do on my network called The Daily Gizwiz. Hello, Dick.
Hey, bonjour, mon ami. Comme vous-tu?
Oh, ça va bien, et tout. C'est très bien. We should talk like this the whole time.
I hope not. I have to thank Dennis for that. I was going to say, bonjour, mon ami.
Mon ami.
Come for January 2.
You're not a francophone, I guess.
I'm not. No, I'm a headophone.
Headophone. Dick is a gadget hound from way back for many decades and is an expert on all things electronic. What do you got for us today?
Well, you know what? I thought since you loved it so much and people really responded to this, I thought we would talk about probably the most bizarre gadget I found in 2010, the USB typewriter keyboard.
This is so wild.
This is wild. It's at usbkeyboard.com. So you have an old typewriter that you love typing on. You had it for 50 years, and you don't like your IBM keyboard or your Mac keyboard. So this company will take an old typewriter, convert it so that it has a USB dongle on it, and now you can plug it into any USB device that requires a keyboard, and it can now be your keyboard. And I found it at the Wired store, and at the Wired store, they had it hooked up to the iPad. So I'm sitting there on this old Royal typewriter, and I'm typing on an iPad.
And
Now,
the keys move and it goes chunk, 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 and all of that?
Exactly. It is a riot. Now, if you happen to be a wiring wizard, you can do it on the cheap.
They sell a kit.
They sell a kit for, I think it was $59. And it said like 8 hours intensive soldering, yada, yada, yada. That's $59. If you send them a typewriter, takes about a month for them to do it, it's $3.99. Or if you have endless funds, you can go on their website, find an old machine that they already have, and say, hey, take that machine and make it and give me a USB typewriter keyboard output on that, and that's $6.99.
You know what's neat is the guy started doing this on Etsy, which is the the crafty website for people who sell things like knitted hats and stuff, and he was making these on Etsy.
Oh, that's it.
And selling them $400. He says, sorry, custom orders cannot be filled in time for Christmas. So if he's got one done already, you may be able to get it for Christmas. It's a cool idea. Do you think you'd like to use it on a regular basis?
No. No, I don't like any. I fall in love with keyboards. I'll find a keyboard that lights up this color. That's my keyboard of the day. I've been using the Luxeed for quite some time now because you can change colors. You can make rainbows. You can put on a light show.
Anything with LEDs, Dick loves it. It doesn't
I'm like a cat, the cat with the laser thing. That's me.
Well, if you want to know more, USBtypewriter.com. They're not cheap. If you're handy with a soldering iron, you could make one yourself.
Do it for $59.
Yeah, that is cheap, but you also have to find a typewriter.
Yes.
Yeah. Dick joins us every week to talk about gadgets. You can visit his website, gizwiz.biz, for the information on this and all his other crazy gadgets, and the What the Heck Is It contest, a chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine. How fun is that? Dick, we'll talk in a few minutes as we record the Daily Gizwiz later this day. Thank you, Dick.
Okay, be here, pal.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Meanwhile, though, Paul in Westminster, California has a question. Hi, Paul. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, good afternoon, Leo. Thank you for taking my call. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, real good, thanks. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller here, and my wife and I are doing some Christmas shopping for our daughter who doesn't seem to be able to use a Bluetooth earpiece very easily while she drives around in her auto, so we were considering, one of these in-car hands-free phone systems like a Jabra Cruiser 2, Plantronics K100, Motorola 325, and the like.
Right.
Just what your expert advice.
Do you want one that plays through the stereo system, or do you want one that just sits on the visor and has its own speaker?
Well, it could be either, I guess.
I think
I don't know what.
I'll tell you what I use and I love. It's from a company called Blue Ant, and it sits on the visor. So it's a speakerphone. It's a lot easier, frankly. It's battery powered, so you charge it up. It has a micro USB connector on it, so it charges up. You plug it in. It's got its own speaker. Now, the negative on all of these, of course, is that everybody in the car is going to hear the call. Unlike an earphone, there's no way you can have privacy. But this really does a nice job. Works with almost all phones, and I think the quality is excellent because it's on the visor. The microphone's very close to you. So the voice quality is excellent. And it does some neat things. For instance, it reads the phone book from your phone and will say who's calling.
Oh,
It'll say, Paul is on the line, and you say, accept, and it picks it up. No buttons.
Okay.
You could say things like, Blue Ant, speak to me. and it gets ready for a voice command. And so you could say, call Paul, and it'll do it. I think this is a really nice little device. Requires no modification to the car at all. And this is what I use, and I'm very happy with it.
Okay. Appreciate that advice. Is it kind of in the same price range as those other ones?
It's about $129, something like that.
Okay.
Blue Ant S4. Jobber's very good. I think the Jobbers are good. Plantronics is good. There's one from a company called, I want to say Parrot, that plugs into, is that right? That plugs into the, let's see, it's the parrot.com. This would be another good choice. And this one uses the car stereo for the speakers. Some people prefer that. Some people don't like it.
Okay.
And that's parrot.com if you want to learn more about that.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Hey, thanks for the call.
Appreciate your help on that, Leo. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, I think for the next few weeks, that's pretty much the Tech Guy show is going to be helping you buy a gift for your geek. But that's okay. That's what I'm here for. Every weekend right here at this time on this station. If you want more information about the things I've mentioned on the show, we do have a website, techguylabs.com. You'll find links there to our great chat room, lovely people in there, and to the video that we stream, and to the podcast network, TWiT, which is my day job. It's what I do the rest of the week, including the Daily Gizwiz, that 5-day-a-week gadget roundup from Dick DeBartolo. That's all at twit.tv if you want to see all of our different podcasts, and live.twit.tv if you want to watch live as I do this show and all those other shows. We leave the cameras on pretty much 24/7. We've got now, I think, 20 different shows we do. Not just me, but my friends Tom Merritt and Sarah Lane. We do a lot of stuff here, so twit.tv is the place to go if you want to know more, if you're really geeky and you want to get down with your geek self. Thanks for being here. Have a great week, and I will see you next time. I am Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great geek week. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy, and it's time to talk about, that geek stuff. Computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all of that. And I'll tell you what, if you've got a question or something you'd like to know about, or maybe you've got a statement to make, this is the place for you. My goodness, has this been a crazy week. Now, I was in Paris until Friday night, speaking at a conference, a French conference about the internet called, yes, I'm not kidding, Le Web. And Le Web was very fun. A lot of very interesting people there. A guy named Loïc Lemer puts it on every year in Paris in December. It's kind of a crazy time. He says he can't change the date because Marissa Mayer at Google got engaged at Le Web 2 years ago, and then married at Le Web 1 year ago. 2 years ago she got engaged. 1 year ago she got married. So he says, well, now it's Marissa's anniversary. I can't change the date. Well, Loïc, you should, because it snowed, it froze, and the taxis, it's funny about French taxi drivers, at least Parisian taxi drivers. As soon as it snowed, they said, that's it, I'm done. They just sat in their cars smoking. They wouldn't, it's like you wave at them, they go, no, go away, I'm busy. I am not going to drive, it is snowing. What are you, crazy? So, I guess it was the worst snowstorm they'd had in some time. It's not common. Still a fun conference. The CEO of Rovio was there. He's a Finnish fella, Michael Head. Rovio makes that game that you can't get away from anywhere you go, called Angry Birds. You've played Angry Birds, right? There's a very funny video floating around where the birds are talking back, saying, why are we doing that? Why are you firing me in a slingshot? I can fly. Angry Birds is apparently, I think now, perhaps the best-selling game of all time. At Le Web, Michael Head said his company had sold 12 million copies. That's sold on the iPhone for, what is it, $1, $2 each? But they also, it's free on Android phones, and they've given away 30 million Android copies. So that's 42 million copies of Angry Birds on the iPhone, iPad, and Android. 42 million people are playing that game. That's kind of mind-boggling. It was like the Halloween costume. You couldn't buy an Angry Bird costume, but people were making them. You could go on Etsy and buy one. And Loic, when he came out to introduce the CEO of Rovio, the guy behind Angry Birds, he had a giant human-sized Angry Bird outfit on, which has now become his Twitter picture. It's terrifying. 30 million. Now, it's interesting. 12 million on the iPhone and iPad, 30 million on Android. Maybe that's not a surprise. Google revealed this week that they are activating 300,000 Android handsets every single day. Every day. What is that, 9 million a month? That's unbelievable. New Android phones. Now, of course, there are many manufacturers of Android phones, and all the carriers carry them, so it's not just to the benefit of AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or T-Mobile, and it's not just to the benefit of HTC or Samsung or Motorola, but and Google, and funny thing is, Google doesn't make a penny from it. Well, maybe they make a little bit, I don't know, but the ads, they make a lot of money on the ads they put in there, the ad mob ads. But they don't charge for the operating system, which is probably why Motorola, Samsung, and HTC make Android phones. It's free. Why not? 300,000 a day. Amazing. See, Google's got a great business model. And it's unlike, say, Facebook. See, Facebook's business model, people often say, why do you trust Google but you don't trust Facebook? Well, it's very simple. I trust them to act in their own interest, in their own self-interest. I trust any company to act in its own self-interest. That's how corporations work. They don't act in your interest. Bad news. They act in their own interest. And they only act in your interest to the degree that it's in their interest to act in your interest. So you have to look at, well, how do they make money? In the case of Facebook, they make money by taking the information you gave them, which is ostensibly private, and giving it to advertisers, which is fundamentally why I worry about Facebook. Google says, and I think this is true, we make money the more you use the internet, period, because you'll see more Google ads, and we'll make more money. So just use the internet, they say. The more you use it, the happier we are. And that explains why they give away all this stuff for free, because it doesn't, they're happy to give away Android. They love it that they've got 9 million Android handsets activating every single month, because that's 9 million phones that have AdMob, which is Google's mobile ad platform, ads on them. So they're doing okay. And that's actually kind of interesting. And I didn't get a chance to ask Rovio's CEO which he makes more money on, but I think this is kind of interesting. Is it on the ad-free paid version on the iPhone and the iPad, or is it on the free ad-supported version on Android? They've got 30 million on Android. That's a lot more ad impressions. I bet you they make a heck of a lot more money on the free one with the ads, don't you? Sure they do. So, I think Google's got the right idea. Give it away. That's what we do with a radio show. This is what we're doing right now. It's free. We support it with ads. If you want to talk about this, there's lots more to talk about. Samsung, which makes a number of Android phones, also makes a tablet, a 7-inch Galaxy Tab, it's called. I have one. There's a Sprint version. I have that. There's also a Verizon and an AT&T Mobile version. Remember Steve Jobs said, nobody wants it. No, nobody wants a 7-inch tablet. That's half the screen real estate of an iPad. Nobody wants that. We wouldn't make it because nobody wants it. Steve, guess what? 1 million people wanted it. That's how many, in the first month, that's how many Galaxy Tabs were sold, according to Samsung. That's right about where iPad was in its first month. Oh, maybe they do want a 7-inch tablet. Maybe they do like Android. Very interesting. It's not like Apple's hurting. Did you see this? The first Apple store. There were two. Apple opened, I think, 2 stores kind of experimentally to see if, there was made sense to have an Apple store. They opened one in Virginia and they opened one in Glendale, California, at roughly the same time. Although technically, the Glendale Galleria opened earlier. It's listed first in the Apple list of its stores. in a, according to Reuters, unassuming and uncool location in the Glendale Galleria. It is a mecca for Apple fans who come from all over the world to visit the first Apple store. Apparently, there are a group of people so fanatical about Apple that they actually collect Apple stores. They try to visit as many as possible. I actually, I was in Paris where there are two beautiful Apple stores, and one of them right by the Louvre. I did not go, I confess. I feel like a failed nerd. I hear it's the most gorgeous. My friend Robert Scoble says the most beautiful Apple store in the world. And instead, I went to see the Mona Lisa. What's wrong with me? Something's wrong with me. The most beautiful Apple store in the world, and I went to see a darn painting. Not only that, an old painting. First Apple store opened in Tyson's Corner in McLean, Virginia, May 19th, 2001. And the Glendale Galleria in Glendale, California, May 19th, 2001. And boy, have they been successful. Apple says that half of all Macs sold in its retail stores are sold to customers who have never before owned a Mac. Now, that's success. That's exactly the point. They were trying to get some new users in the door there. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number. 888-827-5536. If you want to talk about tech, this is what I do, and I'm going to do it for the next few hours. 8888 Ask Leo. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Let's get those phones ringing. I'm going to take your call next. It's Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Would I lie to you? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's me. Tech Guy Show appears every weekend on 131 stations in the U.S. and Canada, the XM channel 158. Then that's my I guess you'd call that my day job. And then Monday through Friday, I do a bunch of podcasts. And I am very proud to say that 13 of my podcasts, including this show, made it into the iTunes Top 100 of 2010. I actually occupy 13% of the iTunes Top 100. How nice. How sweet it is. So thank you. I don't know. I guess I would thank Apple, except I don't think it's Apple. I think it's automatic. It's based on subscriptions, right? So that's nice. You can find those podcasts at TWiT, TWiT.tv. Scott Wilkinson is coming up in just a bit. Our home theater geek. He was one of the 13 top podcasts. He does a home theater geek podcast on this network every Monday at 1:30. So I have to congratulate him. He's coming up in about 5 minutes. But I think I should say the exact time. What is it, Luis? Is it 33:30 after the hour? 33 minutes and 30 seconds after the hour. Boom! Scott Wilkinson will be here to talk home theater. Meanwhile, Joseph is on the line from Idaho. Hello, Joseph.
Hi. How are you doing, Leo?
Fantastic. Did you get some of that snow that's been going across the Midwest, or did you guys avoid that?
No, we got snow, and then we got water, and then we got snow, and then we got rain, and then
oh dear,
it's still got snow out there. But the thing is, the most dangerous part is that ice and freezing on the road.
That's right. It'd be better if it just stayed snow, but then it melts and it refreezes. That's awful.
Yeah, it is awful.
I had that. That's what happened to me in Paris. No fun.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, no fun.
My thing is my wife informed me that the computer stopped charging. The battery started it even though it said that the computer was plugged in. It showed the bar was going up, so we ordered a new power cord. We ordered a new battery, and the computer still will not.
It didn't fix it to the new power cord, and what I would have said. How old is this computer?
I don't know. It's a
couple of years.
A135S.
Couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Couple years.
Yeah.
I got it at a pawn shop.
Oh, so you don't know.
$100.
Right. So here's the deal with batteries. Lithium-ion batteries, the kind of batteries they put in laptops these days, have a number of charges they can do, and after that they just stop charging. It's usually somewhere around 500. So that means typically after a couple of years, a battery will just stop charging. And what happens after the battery stops charging on a lot of laptops is even if it's plugged in, you can't run the darn thing. You have to pop the battery. So have you tried it with the battery out of the laptop but still plugged in? Have you tried turning it on then?
Yeah, and the light blinks.
The light blinks, but nothing else.
Nothing else. It won't come on or anything.
All right. So you did put a new battery in. You changed the cord. So you did all the things that, you kind of did the troubleshooting for me. Those are the two things I'd say. So obviously something much more serious, unfortunately, much more serious is wrong. Sounds like...
My other Toshiba that I got for $50 at the pawn shop.
You're good at this.
Just needed a new power cord.
Yeah.
And so I used the power cord that I bought for this one, and I can charge my batteries. I have 3 batteries. I have the one that came in the Toshiba that I just bought, the one that was already in the one, and plus the new one that I bought from
yeah, you've done everything. It's clearly something inside the laptop, whether it's the connector where the power goes in. That sometimes that breaks off the motherboard. It's just soldered on there, and then it doesn't have a good connection, so nothing happens.
Okay, what about the chip? See, an IC chip?
It could be an IC chip. IC chips rarely fail. This solid state stuff, if it's going to fail, will fail right away in the first few months or never. Okay. So, but it's much more likely a solder or a connection or a joint, a physical thing.
Could I do it myself?
Yeah. I mean, you don't care. It's going to cost you. It would cost you more to have somebody look at the laptop than it's worth.
Well, see, I did take it to a shop before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
The guy just told me that you could just plug it in and it will work off the cord, the cord power.
He had the same reaction I did, and it didn't, did it?
No, it didn't.
Yeah, so there's something more serious wrong with it. I mean, that was, without looking at it, that's the first thing you think of. That happens all the times on laptops. The batteries just won't charge anymore. You take the battery out, you keep it plugged in, it works fine. But this sounds like you have something more serious. Maybe it was dropped with the cord plugged in and it kind of wrenched the connector. Or
what about 2 of the wires from the power cord connecting,
Could have shorted it out, sure. Could have shorted out the power supply, you bet.
Okay, and I mean, is it... Because I'm pretty technical. I worked on cars and everything.
Joseph, think of it as a experiment. You only paid a few $100 for the laptop. To be honest, it's really old. For $250, you could get a netbook that's faster than that laptop. So there's no point in putting any money into it at this point. You've already spent with buying a new battery and a power cord more than it's worth. The battery alone is probably $80 or $90, unless you got a used one, in which case it may really be a bad battery. So I would say, yeah, I mean, the only thing I would do at this point is to do-it-yourself repair. I certainly wouldn't put any more money into it because you can buy a brand new one that's faster and better in every respect for less than it would cost to fix this one. Alan, North Hollywood, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Alan.
Hello, Leo.
Hello, Alan.
I'm trying to sign up on a 4G network. I believe it's the Sprint network, but it's another company that sells...
yeah, that's not unusual resale. There aren't very many 4G networks. Most of them are Clearwire/Sprint. 3 names for the same network. Yeah. Actually, I think Sprint also sells Virgin Mobile, but that's 3G.
Ah, I see.
So well, which company are you buying it from?
From Clear.
Yeah, Clear. That's 4G. It's WiMAX actually is what it's 802.11. I can't remember. It's H or something. I can't remember exactly the designation for it. But yeah, it's WiMAX. What's the problem?
Well, no, there's no problem. What it is they will sell you either or let you lease either a modem or a modem and router combination.
Right. You could get, yeah, exactly. The modem and router is more flexible, isn't it? Because it's basically a Wi-Fi access spot, so anything with Wi-Fi can use it.
Right, but for a single user, my big question is these USB modems. It plugs right in the side. It's a little round thing.
Yeah.
It looks like the Starship Enterprise. The question is, I remember you said that a modem and router combination is more secure on the internet than if you connect your cable modem.
Well, that's true. The overdrive is more flexible too. Someday you might get a smartphone, for instance, then you'd be able to use the overdrive with it as a Wi-Fi device. I don't, the truth is 4G is secure. It's encrypted. I don't think you're in the same risk area that you'd be with a standard internet connection, so I wouldn't worry about that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Just before we get to Chris Marquardt, who's sitting in the wings here, our photo guy, Chris is saying, yeah, I want that deal, $27 for 750 gigabytes. It ain't true. And in fact, thank you to the chat room who sent me an article from a website called Fake Flash News. It's a website that keeps track of flash drive scams. Kingston data traveler, 256 gigabyte fake USB flash drives flooding eBay for as little as, yes, $25. It's junk. It's garbage. It comes from Asia. You get it. It probably doesn't even have anything in it. Certainly not 256 gigabytes. Now, I did get a link from our flash drive experts in the chat room who say that, yes, you can get a 256 gig flash drive. Kingston does make them. Now, I don't know if this is real or another phony listing, but it is on Amazon, which gives it some credibility. Price a little higher, $800. That sounds about right. I mean, you can buy a not a USB, but an SSD flash hard drive for your computer for around that price. So I think that probably is more likely. But buyer beware. If you're getting 256 gigs of flash for $25, something's wrong. No wonder it didn't work. There's probably nothing in there. There may also be, even if there were 256 gigs, it is possible that these Alpine devices couldn't read anything of that huge capacity. Let us get Chris Marquardt on the line. He is a photo expert, the host of the Tips from the Top Floor podcast at tfttf.com, but it may be easier to go to his own website, which is chrismarquardt.com. And he
They're
joins
both equally difficult to spell.
Yes, they are. MarQuardt.
Yes, and put Chris in front and the .com.
CHRIS and the .com. Yeah, you're right. Just go to techguylabs.com. We got a link there. So, Chris, you talk about difficult. You made us a very tough assignment.
Oh, yeah. This one, the next one will be easier, I promise.
So he calls it Iron Photographer, just like the Iron Chef. You combine ingredients to perform a miracle of photographic technique. In this case, our assignment was to make a photo that combined concepts tidy and messy. And did you have to break a rule too, or did you leave that part out?
Yep. No, I had the break a rule thing in there as well, and we got some interesting stuff back, some really great and awesome stuff. People, I find that if I challenge people with something like that, they end up just showing what they're made of, and they bring great stuff back. So this time, I've again picked 3 pictures to review. And the first one is by LA Observer, by David.
Now, by the way, you can see all of them if you go to flickr.com and you go to the Tech Guy group.
Yep, flickr.com/group/tech guy. That has all the pictures.
But this one's called Tidying Up the Mess, and it looks like a homeless person with a shopping cart and a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah, and the person, David, who took the picture wrote that he had to shoot through the windscreen of his car so that the subject couldn't see him. And you see that in the distortion around the bottom of the picture and the right and the left. So that adds kind of a bit of a grid to the picture. As we said last time, it's a bit dirty in terms of the technique and the technical quality of the picture.
Let me ask you something, because you teach workshops on street photography. What are the ethics of shooting somebody without their permission?
How much time do you have?
I mean, there's the law, which I think says if somebody's in public, you can take a picture of them, right?
Yes and no. It really depends on where you are. There are several cases in different areas. New York has pretty lax laws. I think in LA, you might want to be a bit more careful.
But just from a point of view of being appropriate, it's appropriate to ask permission, even if you have a legal right to take a picture.
Yes, that's what I will generally do. I ask people either up front, or if I take a candid shot of them, I'll walk up to them, tell them, hey, I just took a picture of you, show it to them, and then ask them if I can keep it.
Here's where you have an advantage using a digital camera. You can actually show them the picture, and I find that that's very, very useful.
Absolutely.
They know what you got. They know whether it's embarrassing to them. they may even love it and say, "Hey, that's great." But by the way, this is why I don't take pictures of people in public, because I'm too shy to ask for permission.
You can learn that. You can really learn that. And in general, if you don't have a release for a picture, you won't be able to use it in any commercial context, for example.
Oh, that's a good point.
That adds difficulty in using a picture, like in a photo book, in a calendar, or sometimes even on your commercial website.
Well, I was in Paris this week, and I had a wonderful time. And I love the people you see and the looks. And I did take 2 shots that have people in it. One was in the Paris metro, in the subway. And it was there were a lot of people. It was a group shot. It's one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken. And I couldn't ask permission of everybody in that shot, so I just took the picture and I said, it's personal use only.
And feel free to use it, because if there are like a lot of people on it, it's not feasible to ask everyone's permission. So just go ahead and use that. You will be fine doing
And
that.
then there was another picture. It was just beautiful. The sun's setting, and I got 2 people in silhouette. He's actually a cameraman, a videographer. Obviously his producer was pointing, and it was just a beautiful picture. But they're only in silhouette. You couldn't even identify them. They might know it was them if they looked at it and they knew where it was and say, "Oh yeah, we were at Place de la Concorde on that beautiful sunset." But
if you know them, you can still ask them for permission.
My problem is if you ask somebody for permission before you take the picture, it ruins the picture.
No, not necessarily.
They pose.
Not necessarily. And even if they pose, usually the viewer will not know these people, so they will look at them and not really know if they were posing or not, unless it's really a very posed shot, obviously. But in general, that's not a big issue. I don't find this to be a huge issue. I love candid shots when people are themselves and they don't really know you.
That's me too.
But that can add some complication later if you really want to use it in a project. You better get a release.
So let's get to picture number 2. This one comes from Stephen Welch.
Yep, Stephen Welch, and he shot a picture of shoes. So you have a black and white picture, some of them tidy, a pair of them in the background messy. And he writes that one of the rules he broke was that there's nothing really in focus on that picture, which
that's true.
To me doesn't really matter with that picture. It radiates some mood. It has something about it that is not at all connected with the picture being in focus or not.
I like it. Nice job.
I like that a lot.
But some neatly in a line and some just thrown on the ground. So messy and tidy.
Assignment fully covered.
And finally,
and the third one by Michael Weber, which is a very different shot from a style. This is all in focus. Actually, the background, the foreground, everything is in focus. Shot that wide angle. The rule he broke is he skewed it. He almost looks like that cake. It's a picture of a cake, which is very tidy, and then there's the mess around it. It's in the kitchen, so you
decorating it. Yeah,
very classical kitchen mess kind of thing. It's very colorful. And the rule he broke was that he tilted it, so the cake is almost slipping off that plate.
Nice guy, media guy. Nice picture. All right, let's. We got 1 minute left, Chris. What is our assignment next time?
Next assignment, I'm not going to do complicated. It's the holiday time.
Make it easy. Make it easy, would you?
Yeah, this is very easy. The assignment is lights. That's it, lights.
Lights.
Lights, you can use Christmas lights. You can use any lights, and that's not an iron photographer. Just one ingredient. Make it as by the rules or as off the rules as you want.
I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this.
This is your Christmas present, okay?
I had some fun with lights in Paris. It's the city of lights. Now, here's how you do it. Go ahead.
If you shoot the Eiffel Tower at night, the lights, you will have issues using that. There is a copyright on the light installation of the Eiffel Tower.
This is, by the way, a trend worldwide. Stonehenge. Stonehenge is copyrighted, and you're not allowed to use a picture commercially of Stonehenge.
Yep.
Which was built 1,000 years ago. All right, I'll tell you the rules that are to play our game, our assignment, after the break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks, Chris.
Sure.
I got an email the other day with the subject line, Extreme Computer-Controlled Christmas Light Show. Came from a guy named Mike Zimkowski, who has been doing this ever since he was knee-high to a grasshopper, and it's gotten completely out of hand. Mike now has the most elaborate display I have ever seen. If you go to his website, and we're going to bring it down, Mike, because everybody's going to go, so be prepared.
Yes, the hits are up already.
Lightsonparade.com.
Lights on display.
Oh, good. Let's get it right. Lightsondisplay.com. And you can get links to all of those displays for the last few years, even going back to 1992. I was surprised. Even in 92, you were pretty sophisticated. But let me just play a little bit, and then you're just going to hear it. But, folks, if you get a chance to go to the website, lightsondisplay.com, you can watch the video of what he does. This is your home.
Right.
And how does your wife feel about all this?
I'm not married. I'm actually single.
Oh, good. All right. And now I know why.
I'm here.
You got lots of time. There's a elf
Welcome to our show.
DJ. Now, this is animatronic.
Wonderful.
But then there's video.
Let there be light.
And then there's lights. Do you have gigantic speakers, or are people hearing this on their car radio?
There's speakers actually out front there. And I have a car radio transmitter.
Oh, your neighbors must love you.
Yeah.
This is the most, I mean, I can't tell you, folks. You've got to see it. It is quite a production you do. Is this, now, you said you started this with your dad? You started doing this with your dad?
My dad was doing it when I was a kid, and then I took over like around 8th grade, and then kept going ever since.
Wow.
And I moved here 11 years ago, and then started.
You were doing it in Indiana. The 92
Right.
was in Indiana.
And back then it was X10 technology and gear motors.
Well, it's a tech guy show, so let's talk a little bit about, and lots of people are doing this now. You see, Mannheim steamroller and synchronized lights and all that stuff. These are all LED lights now?
Right. I just finally finished switching over this year to LEDs.
And, besides using less power and not burning out, are they a little faster for the switching, too?
They're just much brighter, much more intense. The colors are much more intense. I mean, before, you couldn't even see blue hardly at all. Now you can. That's the brightest color.
And how do you so there's elves, there's a snowman that's lip synced with the music, there's a DJ who's spinning records. How do you do all of that?
I have a separate controllers for that, and my lighting controllers actually trigger those controllers. They're like almost like puppet kind of controllers, where I actually go through with a potentiometer and do the movements one channel after another. So the snowman's head is 4 channels, and then the elf's head is 4 channels. I build on it, and then.
So you're going through the song a little bit at a time, making the lips moving, the hands move in a sequence, and you'd have to do that for each character that moves during the song.
Right, exactly.
And then it's recorded how?
I record actually on a little chip. It's an EEPROM chip.
Okay, so it's not on a hard drive. It's actually you burn it into a chip.
Right, they're small little boards.
And so each mannequin has its own little EEPROM and controller.
Right, one controller for both elves and another controller for their body movements.
How do you keep them in sync?
It actually stays in sync. It just I hit the trigger pulse at the beginning of the show, and then
it's all in sync from then on.
For 10 minutes, it will run.
Wow.
The show's under 10 minutes, so it holds up pretty well.
Now you told me you run this off a MacBook Pro.
Actually, I program on a MacBook Pro using Boot Camp, and then I actually run it on my PC. It's an old PC.
You don't need a lot of horsepower, really.
No. It's an old compact, I don't know, Windows XP computer. I'm more of a Mac person, actually.
Mike, what do you do for a living?
I'm a video editor.
Aha!
Promo editing. And
so you have, because there's also a big video screen with a wreath around it.
Right. I have a projector in my garage that projects out to the screen, and then the editing the light software actually sends out the video signal, which is synced to the music.
Wow. And do you shoot your own video for this too, or you're editing together bits and pieces?
I shoot most of it, and I create some in motion with elements, and then some of the stuff's gathered off of YouTube since it's a personal display.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Wow. And is the voice, all the voices, are they yours or?
One of the voices is one of my coworkers, and I actually hired the Santa Claus this year to do the display.
He's a good Santa Claus.
Yeah, he's actually been in national spots.
So you're using actors now.
Yeah. It's just one great thing about living in LA and living in the Valley. Anything you need is out here, and I can find anything on the net if I need. I mean, all the parts and things and research.
Wow.
It's a much different time.
When do you start putting this together?
I actually started building the elf in May over the weekends.
May.
And while listening to your show every weekend, because that's kept me sane in the garage while I was building.
with the soldering iron.
Right. It's a lot of parts, a lot of runs to the hardware store each day.
Wow. What a great hobby. I mean, is this your chief hobby? Is this the main thing you end up doing?
Yeah, it pretty much fills my hours.
It's Christmas year-round for Jim.
I did a commercial a couple of years ago, and it was too much. So my day job. So maybe one of these days.
Oh, so you actually charged admission and so forth?
No, I did a couple of zoos on the East Coast.
Oh, a zoo. Okay. There must be a community of people who do this, though. Yes.
Yeah, actually, Planet Christmas is a place. PlanetChristmas.com is where everybody pretty much gathers to share all the information and ideas and things and show their displays and that.
Can you buy a kit, or do you have to kind of?
There's a couple different companies that create the hardware controllers and software. One's Animated Lighting, which is what I use. The other company is Lightorama, and those are the two, the home kind of display controllers.
It's pretty amazing. But it seems to me that it'd be a lot of work getting it all to synchronize.
Yeah, I sat on the couch and the computer since August for about a month or two, just every night, a little bit here and there.
You start fabricating in May. You start programming in August.
It takes forever. Yeah.
You have to. Have you shot the video already and edited it by then? Or
this is a shoot I shot a couple weeks ago, and that took like a couple nights just to shoot.
It's a great. You'd actually do a great job with the video. There's a lot of shots and. So you can really see close up on the different objects. It's really very cool. Do you encourage people to drive by, or is this something you'd keep?
I'm off of Beverly Glen and Sherman Oaks.
Okay.
So you can't miss it.
Just look for the glow in the sky.
And my address is on my website, actually. Yeah.
Well, there's something going on over there in that valley. Oh my gosh. There's
the LED's
lights.
Amazing.
I think aliens have landed. Wow. I mean, this is very, very cool. Are there awards for this or anything? I mean, it's just the glory of doing it.
Not in my area, but a lot of towns have.
Yeah, we have here in Petaluma. We have a little, but there's nobody like this. I mean, you would. There's no competition here for you.
I guess I'll go a little crazy.
Probably in LA, there may be one or two other people that can do this, but I think you're probably one of the few.
There's a few out here, yeah.
LightsOnDisplay.com. Mike Zimkowski does this from May through December, and then you take a break.
Yeah, I pretty much crash in January, and I figure about it for a while, and I start thinking again in May about searching for music and everything.
Oh, it's so great. Really, really nice job. Mike, it's so great to meet you and talk to you. I'm glad we could get you on the show. Happy holidays to you. Do you actually do anything on Christmas, or do you just go to bed?
I just stay home and just...
and just watch the display. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. I appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks, Leo.
Wow. LightsOnDisplay.com. And if you're in Sherman Oaks, California, go up into the hills. I know Luis and Gina, because our studios, the premier studios are in Sherman Oaks, or as soon as this show goes off the air, they're going to head up there. Mike, do you do shows like every night at a particular time?
Yeah,
or?
it's 5 to 10 each night through New Year's Day.
5 to 10 each night through New Year's Day. Are these home videos of you?
Yeah, that's my mom, and that's my dad in the video, and then the rest of the shots of my cousins and me growing up.
Oh, isn't that neat?
I try to work in the home movies, and
isn't that neat? What a neat thing.
Family.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Zimkowski.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, lightsondisplay.com. And by the way, this is such a long display that was going on the entire time I was talking to Mike. I should ask you, Mike. I know everybody wants to know, and I hate to ask. How much does this cost you? What's your power bill every month?
Last year for a couple months it was like $500. So we'll see this year with the LEDs how.
That's not too bad.
But there's a lot of things.
Save you some money.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask how much you spent on it. I doubt you could even figure it out. It's amazing. Lightsondisplay.com. Mike Zimkowski. All right, back to the phones we go. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, right after this. And, Adam in Hershey, PA. Hi, Adam. Leo Laporte here.
Hey, Leo. Great to talk to you. I followed you since the very beginning of the audio twit.
Thank you. That's 2005. We've been doing it since April 2005. We'll have our 6th anniversary in a few months. That's amazing.
That's great. My question today is, I watch quite a bit of videos on my larger, big monitor and have a smaller monitor I do other things on. I drove to Hershey, Pennsylvania. I just moved, and I broke my big screen Panasonic flat screen HDMI TV. So I had to go buy a new one.
Yeah.
I bought an Insignia because that's what I could afford at the time. And I realized my mouse was dragging, and originally I thought it was because I had to use a temporary mouse, a ball mouse, and we all know those are old and slow. I reinstalled all the drivers. That wasn't it. I now have my old wireless mouse back, my Logitech that I've had forever, and it's not running, it's not tracking right. And now that I'm watching the chat go by and myself typing, I'm realizing it seems to be the entire refresh rate on that TV.
Is it an LCD or a plasma?
Perfect. It's LCD.
Yeah, so you used to have a plasma.
No, it was an LCD as well.
It was, okay. I think, it's probably that the Insignia is probably a lower refresh rate.
Okay, it was advertised when I bought it as a 120.
Oh, that actually could be the problem. Have you tried going back to 60, turning off that 120?
Well, on my computer settings, I have it as 60. I don't know if the TV settings, can you switch it separately?
Yeah, and you should, in fact, disable that.
Okay, so that's what I'll try.
I'd be almost dollars to donuts. That's what's going on. That it's actually, because what it does is it interpolates the 60 frames, it's actually 60 fields, it interpolates the 60 fields a second to double that number. And it seems like that would make your mouse move faster. It actually would make your mouse move slower. So I would guess that that's it. I mean, it's a very strange thing. Your mouse, I would guess if you could turn off the 120, the things will look normal again. It's just my guess. I can't think of anything else that would cause your mouse to... it's just a display. Your mouse should all work the same. Right? Right? Earl, Vallejo, California. I think you might be the last call of the day. Hey, Earl, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I had a question here. I'm running a iMac 27. I'm running a MacBook Pro, and my wife has a Dell Studio 15.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is figure out how to set up backup storage here at home where I still have access to the data and I can cross over between computers. I could look at the data from all the computers on one unit.
You have a wireless or wired network?
I have wired on my 27, goes to my D-Link router, and then everything else, the other two computers go to the router.
Does the D-Link have a USB port? Because some of these routers you could plug in a drive and it would turn it in.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the D-Link 825s.
Good. So you could plug in a drive and it'll show up as a as shared hard drive on all the machines. Now, if you want something a little fancier, I would go out and get what's called a NAS, a network attached storage. I use a Ready NAS from Infront. Actually, Netgear bought them, so it's now Netgear Ready NAS. Synology, Synology, makes some really nice ones. I wish I could continue to recommend in the Windows Home Server, but HP just discontinued it. So that's not a good choice anymore. But a NAS would do exactly what you're talking about. It would be a hard drive that appears to all the computers. You could back up to it. Many NASs, the Ready NAS will do this, will automatically back up for you. You don't even have to have any software on the computers.
Will they do that, simultaneously if you've got, say, different computers running, like with OS and Windows?
Yep. That's exactly my setup. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. See you next time. Have a great Geek Week.